Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record live every Monday. If you enjoy this video, hit that like button, and if you want to submit to be on the show, take a look at the information in the description.
This was a 2-5 game at the Caesars, Southern Indiana, and it was about 10 months ago or so, so it was pre-COVID.
Okay. And what's the buy-in structure in these games?
It's 500 max or half the big stack.
Well, okay, so I like this a lot better than the way they do it in LA. 500 max, but half the big stack. So if you go there on a Friday or Saturday night, you might be able to buy in for 1,500 or 2,000 if you want to, right?
Right.
Yeah. Whereas in LA, you can only buy in for 500. Okay, so 2-5, 500, half match stack. Okay.
Yeah, so the villain in this case, so we were 600 effective.
Okay.
He had just sat down at the table.
Okay.
And he's under the gun, and he raises to 20. It folds to me in the low jack, and I have ace-9 of hearts.
Okay.
Now in the blinds were two players that were kind of splashy, so I wanted to try and play a hand with them as well. So I just called. I know that I could possibly have 3-bet there.
3-bet or folded for the biggest nits in the world. Some people say that's a fold. But okay, so you call, yeah. And then did the blinds call too?
They did.
Okay, so blinds call too. So 4 ways?
Yeah.
Okay. $80. Okay, what's the flop?
So the flop is 5 of clubs, 9 of spades, 7 of spades.
So 5 of clubs, 9 of spades, 7 of spades. So you have ace-9, but you also have these guys in the blinds here too, right? So it's 4 ways.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So not under the gun bet 60.
Okay.
And I call with my top pair. But the blinds fold.
Okay, so under the gun bet 60 into 80. Hero calls and the blinds fold. This is really troublesome. I got to tell you right away. And well, the reason why I say it's troublesome, and I think that your hand... See, what's really interesting here is that you might even fold the flop. Now, I'm not the nittiest of nittiest when I'm talking about I'm folding ace-9 suited pre-flop, but here's my thoughts here. What's your name?
Pedro?
Pedro, that's right, Pedro. Sorry. You must get that from Napoleon Dynamite thing all the time, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Pedro. Here's my thought. Unless this guy is totally clueless, right, from the under the gun position on 9 of spades, 7 of spades, 5 of clubs, I mean, really, really clueless. He really shouldn't be like betting out here with like ace king of diamonds on this flop, especially with splashy guys here in the pot. He really should have something. And a lot of times this is going to be over pairs. I mean, I guess it could be 2 overcards and a spade draw. You don't have a backdoor. Obviously, it's a slam dunk call if you were heads up. Man, with splashy guys in the blinds who are naturally checking to the pre-flop raiser, you have ace-9 of hearts without a backdoor, and he's betting close to full pot. I think it's probably pretty close. Obviously, I don't think anyone's going to fault you for making a mistake for calling. But you can see by not 3-betting pre-flop and having this go multi-way how tight you actually have to defend here. Like, you know, again, you structure this as maybe if you had a backdoor, you continue. I'm reading the chat and seeing how many people are calling me like a nit here. But I think it's probably, I think it's really, really close and you might even consider folding. I think the ace helps you a little bit in the sense that if the guy happened to be barreling with like an ace high hand, then you're going to cooler him if an ace comes. But, okay, so you call and the blinds fold. Did you consider folding ever?
I did.
Okay.
I think there were a couple of things that why I didn't fold was, first of all, I looked to my left, and the guys just seemed disinterested in that flop, those splashy guys. So I figured that they were going to fold anyway.
No, that's interesting.
And the other thing was the villain, like I said, he just sat down at the table, but the way he acted and talked and stuff, he sounded a lot like either a pro or at least someone who knew what he was doing. So I figured, someone barreling off just to scare the fish away could very well be a possibility there.
I mean, maybe, but I mean, it's just barreling off to scare the fish away. I mean, I'll start a triple barrel on a board of 9-4 rainbow with king queen before I'll start barreling 9-7-5 with a 2 flush with the guys in the blinds. You know what I mean? But anyways, it's good that your head's up now. So you make the call. The pot's 200. What's the turn?
So the turn is a jack of diamonds.
Okay.
And now under the gun bet's 170.
170? Jesus. That's kind of an odd bet in the sense that, God, you would think that at some point he would start checking like over pairs and things like that. I mean, I guess he could be barreling but he'd have to have a hand that he's not supposed to be barreling on the flop. I mean, I guess it could be like king, queen of spades, king, 10 of spades, something like that. I mean, to be honest with you, unless you want to make a deviation here, like where you think you've got some sort of live thing going on where you think the guy's full of shit, I mean, you don't really have to, I don't think you have to defend here to this bet. I mean, when we look at the action of him betting into 3 people on the flop and then piling the turn here for 170. See, I think also too, the quality of your 9 here is you don't have the best 9 to call with, meaning that you would much rather have 8-9 or 9-10 now. If you were to go down the line in terms of 9x that you would want to start to call here with, especially to this sizing, because it picks up extra gut shot equity. So ace-9 here, no backdoor. I don't really think that, I think I would probably just fold out now. But did you call?
I did.
So now the pot's 540.
Yeah. And I think, obviously the points you made are really good. And maybe going back, I possibly would have folded there. I think my idea there was, I was thinking about, what's an under the gun range. I beat a lot of the under the gun range, especially considering that I have an ace in my hand.
Well, here's the thing though. You beat a lot of the okay. So you beat a lot of and I think this is where a lot of people miss a step when doing hand reading, especially no limit. This is kind of equivalent to how I say that people will misinterpret. People will say, I think one of the worst pieces of advice or an adage that is misused the most in no limit hold'em is, if you call the turn and nothing changes on the river and they bet again, you have to call, because why did you call the turn? And I call such bullshit on that because the bet again in itself is change. So if I take a look at what you just said there, your hand is ahead of a lot of the under the guns range on 9-5-7 with ace-9. That's certainly true. But there's more to it though. You've got the betting patterns. Is ace king or ace queen, all the 16 combination or the 12 combinations, because you have an ace, are they going to be firing into 3 people on a 9-7-5 board from under the gun and firing pot on a jack turn against one person? By the way, you called next to act. How often of the 24 combinations of ace king and ace queen that aren't spades, by the way, so we'll take 22 combinations that aren't flush draws of ace king and ace queen, how often of those 22 combinations is betting 60 into 80 into 3 people on 9-7-5 with splashy blinds and then full pot on a jack turn with a player who calls next to act? 10%. I mean, that's how extreme it is. So while you're saying that's true on paper, the betting action has a lot to do with how we would determine this as well. And that's how I would look at it. Anyways, it's 540. The board is 5 of clubs, 9 of spades, 7 of spades, turns a jack of diamonds. Okay, what's the river?
The river is the 5 of hearts.
Okay. So 9, 5, 7, jack 5. Okay.
Yep. And he goes all in.
For how much is it?
For like another 300 or so.
He goes all in for 300. So 170, 230, 50, 350 to 300 to 350.
Yeah.
All in for 300. 350. I'll fix it for the notes for the YouTube. So I mean, I know you had emailed this hand in, but we're getting into this situation, right? That I just talked about, where you called the turn, so nothing changes on the river. So do you have to call the river? I mean, we just talked about that. So, I mean, that this actually really does kind of display exactly what I'm talking about. Now you are getting a price. So the pot's 840, 300 to call. So you're getting almost 3-1. And I think that most of the people who are watching live think that you should have folded on the turn or even folded on the flop. But once we get here, does that mean that we have to call? Or does the fact that the guy has bet all 3 streets and continues to bet on the river, is that enough information for us to fold? I will add, though, it's very strange still to have an overpair, I think, like bet like this. But I guess it's possible. Like going back to the days, like I said, Commerce 510, would I take aces or kings here at the stack depth ever like this? Maybe. I mean, like I said, I definitely would have folded off the turn. You've got ace 9 here. And I'm sure the villain is not value betting anything worse than your hand. So getting 3-1, or am I good 1 out of 4 times here? If I've ever seen this guy only bet when polar, meaning that like he's not a thin value better, then maybe if I get here to the end, I might call. But when the board pairs, some guys even at this level are going to go for streets like with aces and kings. You know, if the board was like a 4, if the river was a 4 at the end and he moved all in, I'd almost be more likely to call then. Because then people don't do that with just like single pair hands, you know?
Right.
So what ended up happening?
So I tanked probably for about 2 or 3 minutes, but I ended up making the call. Following, you know, what you say is wrong about, like, I really didn't feel that 5 changed anything about the board. But I do understand that that's not, like, it shouldn't be a rule at all.
Well, it's just a bet, right? The bet in itself, you know, is more. Are you Canadian, by the way?
No, I'm Portuguese.
Oh, Portuguese. Okay, I thought something was going on. Oh, hey, Canadian name Pedro would have been interesting. Keep forgetting your name's Pedro, but so you called, and what happened?
I beat his pocket 8.
Wow, so UTG has pocket 8. Interesting. So he's trying to bluff you off of a 9, I guess. Right?
Yeah, I mean...
A 9 or a jack X of spades type of hand? I mean, that's interesting. I mean, obviously, so 8s is obviously a pair that's gutted, turns a 1-card double gutter. So he continues to fire 8-8. You know what's kind of funny is I think that he should have got you off of a 9 here on the turn. If you peeled on the flop and your 9 didn't contain a straight draw, you're probably supposed to fold, and he's running a semi-bluff. So now the question is, and maybe he thinks that you're going to raise off sets, raise off 2-pair plus. He has 2-8, so the chances that you're going to have like the nuts on the flop nuts or turn nuts with 10-8. So when you don't raise off on flop or on turn, you're somewhat capped. He's blocked the nuts, natural slow plays, so he's going to go for it. Unfortunately for him, though, it didn't work, huh?
Yeah.
Which is, kind of, like I said, going back to the flight, it's really interesting about how tight you are really supposed to defend multi-way, or to the point where I think that the flop really even might be a fold. But I appreciate the call, Pedro. Thank you very much. If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call-in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.